day we've really just been looking at how can we increase return on investment on the farm. Pulling tissue samples, having our foliar script program, balance those ratios. We've had some pretty rough spots in the field where we've been digging out these ditches, getting water off.
What's the coolest thing we're doing this year? I think it's the relay cropping. Might not make the most money, might not even work, but it's pretty cool. I think we're going to be successful, but not going to say that till we get her harvested.
Welcome in for another episode of Top Crop Season 2, Episode 3, premiering tonight right here in the watch party on the Top Crop channels, just about all of them. Welcome in, everybody. How are we doing tonight?
Well, it's a great Thursday night. Russell, how are you doing?
Man, it's 8 p.m. and I ain't doing plumbing or on a piece of equipment, so we're doing good.
I see that. And hey, wait, we're both wearing matching hats. Imagine that.
Let's go. Shout out to the...
If you don't know bass, then you don't have the right crop insurance.
100% right. Bass Agency bringing crop insurance the way it should be, I say, to all the fields in different states. I also like your shirt you got on there.
Yeah, man, I got my Ag Venture on. Glad we can stay closed for the show with some Ag Venture gear.
And we got a good show tonight. We're going to feature some Ag Venture. We're going to have a special guest on the Hedrick farm. Tell us who came to visit you in this episode.
So we went down to Venezuela in March and spoke at their corn congress and really emphasized on pretty much planter performance. If you don't have the planter set up at the beginning of the season, you're losing yield day one. And I think they took that seriously and sent me a message, and he was like, hey, I'm going to come up. And then Ray heard he was, coming from Venezuela. So Ray came over. Had a couple from South Africa, Oklahoma, Kentucky, Wisconsin. I mean, we had a bunch of people in there for the day.
Let's go. And what else? We had some passes we did that day too. We stayed real busy. It was like a 2 or 3 day adventure. I think everybody was there.
Yeah, we went over the deep injection. We went over fertility and how we were trying to get some ground balanced out. And then we had our foliar script with the drones and went and looked at some of the 48 B2E, the new Ag Venture beans we tried out this last year, and some of our plots. I mean, root digs, it's all there.
Let's go. We're sharing all the secrets at the Hedrick farm. Foliar scripts, that sounds like something new. Tell me a little bit more about that.
So essentially, we've got an AI program that we're using with our tissue test, and it gives farmers an actual management decision with tissue sampling where we know down to the ounce what we need to put on that plant to balance it, but not spending more money than we need to at that point in time of the season. So it's been a game changer on using good products that aren't cheap, but only using as much as we need.
And what kind of profits are we seeing? Like, what kind of give us an idea of what some farms are seeing? I've heard some good reports.
Yeah, I mean, we've had quite I would say a big lineup of people that tried it out. It went commercially for the first time for 2024. Showed out really good on corn, showed out really good on beans. We had some bean results that came back that they didn't see really, a big gain, but at the same time, that area was a D3 drought. So even balancing that plant, like putting out the kelpine, doing some of the stress mitigation, that really has helped out quite a bit.
Well, we're excited to learn more about it in the show, as well as where else can we find more info about it?
You can go to agwise.io. That's the company we partnered up with Agwise. They helped us build they took pretty much our algorithm, put it in their AI computer, and that's how we get results so fast. And so they're hosting it. That shouldn't be something a farmer does. And we realized that, so we put it in the hands of the right people.
Let's go. And you've been busy telling the good folks around the country about this and quite a few other things. You've been traveling, man. Where you been visiting lately?
Went to Kansas pretty much back to back. Went to Wichita, then went out to Nick Voss's. their meeting out there at Desert Farmer. Been to Missouri, Illinois, getting ready to head out to Louisville. Hopefully we can see everybody at the farm show coming up here in Louisville next week. And I think Brandon's going to be there as well as me and you. And, you know, you see us walking around, come around, we'll talk farm for a while, and you can be a part of the Top Crop experience.
We're going to have a party, that's for sure. We're going to be out there meeting and greeting and having a little bit of fun with everybody.
Yep.
And Brandon's got a booth out there, right, Brandon? Which booth are we going to be in? People can probably find us at the base camp.
We will be at 8600 in the main hall.
Love that. 8600. Make sure you find us in the National Farm Machinery Show coming every year to Kentucky. It's always a good time in Louisville.
And you know, this year especially is going to be a good year at the show because it's not a year where everybody's going to be throwing money at things. They're going to be shopping. They're going to be looking at what's worked. And Russell, you know quite well, there's a lot of things that you got to look close at now.
Yeah, I think that's one of the things that maybe Seth lets us dive a little deeper on for season 3 is there's so many biological products out there. How do you choose the right one? Maybe we go over a way to scientifically test that in the lab, find out what we need, and then find out if that's what's going to work. And then, you know, really focusing on, you know, humics, fulvics, making that nitrogen available, helping efficiency in that nitrogen. So maybe that's some of the stuff we'll get on the show for season 3.
Yeah.
No, absolutely. That sounds like a plan. We're always diving deeper on top crop, trying to find the most profitable way to grow a crop to the top.
And you know, it is shows like Top Crop that make a difference. Guys like Russell, like Dan, Perry, Corey, you know, it takes, you can read all you want in the books, but when you see what people are actually doing to it, that's when the rubber meets the road.
Well, and that comes back to the good, the bad, and the ugly. I mean, some of these products shine really, really good on mine, but they might not on another one. But they don't farm the same dirt. They ain't got the same climate. You know, we're able to bring a pretty good geographic area of what each one of us, and none of us are really doing a lot of the same things. There's guys that are pushing envelopes differently and using different things and able to bring different viewpoints to it. I think my little star is wanting to, you want to say hey? You want to say hey? She's had the flu, so bedtime is definitely off.
Yeah.
It's going around. It's definitely going around right now.
It definitely is. And we got to, I wanted to just mention, we got to hang out with some of the Ag Venture folks. We were at the South Farm Show. I know, Russell, you didn't get to make it down there. A good show, though. I want to give them a plug for putting on a great show down in North Carolina. If you didn't get to check, Ag Venture was.
Yeah, Sweetwater Creek Seed always puts on a really good booth, Seth. That tractor trailer and the combine, man, that's the legit ticket.
That's what I'm getting to. Some of the folks were on the talk with us and got to see it, but that really makes the booth, and they put on a good show, as well as have some incredible hybrids that you got to showcase on your farm this year.
Well, I mean, it ain't a plug for them, but one of the things that I've learned, I mean, we've planted a bunch of different varieties of corn, and one of the reasons why I've liked working with Ag Venture is they don't get told what they get. Cliff and Brooks, they're doing testing not only on my farm, but farms around the state, finding out what works the best here. And then they actually get to pick what they want for their actual location. And if it's something that they don't see that a farmer's going to see a good return on, they don't have to take it. And so the stuff that you see them offer is stuff that they have real data on.
Yeah, well, I know that from walking your corn this past year before the hurricane got a hold of it, they got some incredible products, and even Corey got to showcase them on his ground some this year. So we're looking forward to seeing how they do in some other places too.
Well, maybe 2025. I'm gonna have to buy. I'm gonna have to buy Corey a steak dinner and a bourbon. And keep my promise in the bet. I definitely lost with the hurricane, but maybe 2025 will be a different year, and he'll have to buy me a steak dinner and a drink. So we'll see.
Maybe he'll let you do double or nothing because of the hurricane.
That's all right. I'll buy him a dinner when we're up in Louisville.
That's awesome. Well, what do we look forward to? I know you've been taking care of the farm, trying to get ready for planting, and that hasn't been an easy adventure. Any updates on that?
We're just making plans. We're getting ready to pull some spring samples probably when we get back from Louisville and see where our soil's at, biology, fertility, see if this hurricane affected us really bad or not. And we're probably going to go ahead and run that deep injection bar a little bit earlier this year. Some of the numbers we came back on the biologicals, where we were getting the biologicals even 2 weeks ahead of planting instead of a week of, showed really big gains in ROI. I mean, we were picking up another 5-6 bushels on corn just for having that pass, 14 days. So this year, I think we're going to try to get ahead of the curve and maybe go even a month early before planting time and get that biology in the ground, let it start working and building and releasing nutrients in those bands. And that's some of the plans we've got coming up for, here in the next couple weeks.
And I think you talked about it some in the show, but what's going in that deep injection specifically?
I mean, it just depends on the farm. I mean, we're running some of our potassium and phosphorus, so we're running 1137 or some KTS. We did the vermicompost extract from Fed and Happy that we made. We tried the organics. We tried organics with insul algae. We put some of the fish head through it. Blending in, some fulvics, having a little bit of fulvic in there really kind of helps things move along the right direction and a carbon source. And we're even trying like some calcium. We've got some farms that are pretty degraded. We need some calcium, and even running some liquid calcium in those bands has showed some big results last year in plant stature.
Some might say that's quite a bit pretty early on.
Well, I think you put out, that's the thing about the show is I think everybody loses concept of we glean a bunch of information from our contest plots, and we also have plots that aren't meant for contests. They're just meant for us to learn. And we're trying new products. And, when we're talking about that, you're talking 2-3 gallons of phosphorus, 2-3 gallons of potassium. That's not a lot of money. When you start throwing in, 4 to 6 ounces of calcium or silica, or, you know what I mean? It's not like we're making $100 in that pass. We're making a very precise pass that the efficiency is probably 5, if not 10x. It would take, you know, 30 30 pounds of phosphorus to equal what that 3 gallons does. So I mean that's a huge return on investment where we're saving dollars and precisely placing those nutrients in a band.
And I don't want to spoil anything for folks that are planning to watch the whole season, but we actually, before the hurricane got a hold of it, were able to get a hold of a few ears and walk some of the fields to see what some of the differences were, especially with that deep injection. And we saw some pretty incredible things, if I remember.
So where we ended up was 100% of dry fertilizer was running about 139 bushels. 100% of our P and our K going through that liquid band was 219. And then even where we cut back on the liquid, our 50% rate on liquid, I'd have to go back and look, but it was somewhere around that 170 mark. So to go through the dry spell we did, using some of the drone products and mitigating that stress, really just having that fertility deeper in the profile just because we've got more soil moisture down there. When you start talking about we can reduce our P and our K and we can still maintain a higher yield, that's making money. And that's what you got to do to stay in this business. I mean, farming, this will be my 13th crop coming up this year, but the one thing I've learned that farming is a game of pennies. And if you watch those pennies, you'll make dollars.
Yep. And that, unfortunately, a lot of people haven't paid as much attention about it until now. And now even more so than ever, it's a big deal.
Well,
Every penny you can save makes a difference.
well, I think we were in the same boat, Brandon, back in 2020 and 2021 when we saw
Yes.
anhydrous at 1,500 a ton and phosphorus at 1,400 a ton. The only thing I think that saved everybody's tail back then was corn was $7 and $8 on the board.
Yep.
Now you got a 4 or 5 on the board, and you heard it here first, folks. I think December corn for this year post a $5 mark at least once. Um, I think you're going to see that unless there's just something crazy economic happen. But we're using different ways to hedge our grain and our production, and we're watching the way that we're putting inputs in because it's a whole different ball game at $4 corn than it is at $8 corn.
And it just a little bit of change in a fertility program financially can make a huge deal.
Well, so like one of the things that we've been working on, and I try not to talk about things until we get at least 2, really 3 years of good data on it, so we've got a good base set. But talking about like fulvic and humics, if you're pulling a Haney test, it gives you how much liquid carbon you have, that WEOC, that water extractable organic carbon, and that's what we talk about with farmers all over the country. When that bacteria breaks down nitrogen and we go from ammonium all the way down to nitrate, it consumes 30 pounds of carbon for every 1 pound of nitrogen. Now, we're not going to be able to make that deficit up using a fulvic or a humic in total, but even having a quart per 15 gallons will increase that efficiency 2 or 3-fold. And that's the way that we're able to keep our plants so healthy, so green, even during those stressful times, because we're balancing somewhat that C to N ratio when we're applying these nitrogen products. And so that's what a lot of farmers have got to figure out, is there's ways that we can spend a half of a bushel to the acre and really see a big bump out of that.
And I saw some of it last year, and I know thanks to Russell, some of the changes we made last year were things that Russell has already tried and done. And that's a big thing. That's one of the things about Top Crop TV is you get to see the hands-on and get to learn what to look for next year.
Well, but we're not selling a product either. I think that's one thing that I've enjoyed is like Seth ain't out here asking us to pimp out a product and sell something, and it's just a way for us to bring education and say, hey, this worked. And we haven't bashed on products either. I mean, we've tried products and we didn't see the ROI and we just don't use them anymore, but we also don't have to come on TV and just run them in the ground because it may work somewhere else.
And like you said earlier,
oh, sorry, Brandon.
Like I was just going to say, go ahead.
That's kind of the beauty of Top Crop. One of the things that makes us unique is the relatability in different areas, because it may work in one place, but it may not in another. And you just gotta try it on your farm. You gotta see what works in your area. And
And that is the good thing about Top Crop is you guys are spread out over an area, and you see different soil types, different weather types, and you see what the changes do in different areas. Now, does that mean it's going to work on your place? Absolutely not. But it gives you a starting point on where to go, what to look for, and say, hey, I saw Russell do this, or I saw Corey do this. So let's give it a try.
Well, and every now and then you really do kind of get one of them shooting stars. I know Corey's been on the show, and Corey was talking about, hey, I tried this, architect, and now we're doing it on every acre. And I'm like, man, there ain't no way it's that good. And then we try some of it, and you can literally see down. I mean, our sprayer is on 15-inch centers. And so when we're spraying, we know which row, what our end row is, and that's what we flag on the sprayer. We don't have really any overlap. You could see it down to the row. I mean, you just walked in that field, and then all of a sudden, this thing, after all the stress we went through, this plant is easily 8, 12 inches taller, and you're like, what's the only difference here? We put this in the mix. And, then you see Corey, he's had success with it. Ethan and Shelby's had success with it. Dan's been trying it. So, I mean, there's a lot of different things that, sometimes you'll find a product that's going to carry that area, but it's not all of them.
And of course, you never, like you said, there's a shooting star will pop out when you least expect it.
We're definitely going to be doing more with the Architect, the Onward Max. There seems to be a lot going on with these plant hormones and either reducing stress or pushing for a better ROI on a lot of these products.
Well,
who we got in here? We got Corey.
Perry showed up.
Oh,
Welcome
Perry.
to the party, Mr.
I showed
Perry.
up, yeah. All right. Can y'all
Welcome in, Perry. Good to
hear
see
me?
you.
I'm driving and it's dark, so I don't know what you're seeing. Probably nothing.
I always
Yeah,
see
that's
a
probably
light,
better.
see a light in the background, but
Hello?
we got your voice. That's a good thing. And Russell's deciding to do.
Hold on. Well, I'll be home and
Perry.
yeah, we don't want to see him anyway, do we?
Perry's like I've been the last couple of weeks. He's still a working man right now.
Now,
Perry's-
Who's
Perry,
that?
let's talk a little bit. We were talking about little changes making big changes in the ROI. You've had a few of those changes in the
Right.
last year or so too, haven't you?
Say that again. I'm not in the greatest area. Something about last year.
Russell was talking earlier about little changes in
Yeah.
make huge changes in the ROI and sometimes unexpected.
Yeah. So I think when I got on, y'all were talking about some PGRs, and I've been using PGRs forever, I guess. But some of the PGRs have like a 2-1-1 ratio, like and the GIF, I guess, is 1-1 ratios. That stuff's usually pretty inexpensive, and it will reap great rewards. So PGR, yeah, it doesn't take much, inexpensive, and it can work out real well for you. Is that what you're wanting to hear? What are you thinking?
Yeah, that's kind of what we were talking about. Now, I wanted to hear what your thought was on it, because I know you guys deal with it every day. And it's one of those things that the little things.
Give me about 2 minutes. I'm going to be in a lot better area.
You're perfect. That sounds like Russell. During
Can you
the
hear me?
hurricane.
See, I can't hear you, so I don't know if you heard what I was saying about the PGRs or not.
We did.
That, I mean, so PGRs. I guess one thing that was eye-opening for me was, we always put boron in with our any kind of application. That pays off big. But boron's really something that needs to be in the plant from day one. And if you ever let it fall below, then kind of like you never had it. So you need to start with it and stay with it. It's been my understanding.
Now, Russell and Perry, if you can hear, this is a question. Let's talking a little bit about
I'm getting
boron.
better, yeah.
What are your thoughts about adding boron with cobalt and moly together?
Okay. So, what is there a prepackaged product with all that in there?
There are several out there, but I was kind of, I saw that yesterday, and I was kind of like, well, where does this go?
All right, so here's the way I understand it, and this I'm going to speak real general. Cobalt, like it is it's like a day of sunshine in a bottle. So that helps with stress, maybe from cloudy weather or something. So Cobalt's helping with the stress. Now, the boron and moly, I've always been told, and anyone's ever heard me talk, you got boron, moly, and nitrogen. Well, think of it like your wife, or your wife, and your mother-in-law. The moly represents your mother-in-law, so she's telling the boron, your wife, what to do, and then in turn, the boron or your wife is telling you what to do, the nitrogen. So it has a role in the nitrogen and the way it moves and acts and works in the plant. Have y'all ever heard that?
I've heard almost a similar breakdown of explanation. Yeah, and that's a great explanation of it, Perry.
Well, that's pretty simple. Everybody kind of understands that, and I didn't make that up. That was something I heard years ago, but it stuck with me. So you're talking about the nitrogen, the boron, and the moly. The moly tells the boron what to do, and the boron tells the nitrogen what to do. That's as simple as I can break it down. So, we've always seemed like we use more and more boron and monitor through tissue tests, but I know everybody doesn't farm cotton, but boron in the cotton's a big deal. It's inexpensive.
Yes,
it really helps set the bowls of the fruit and hold it. And the cobalt is your day of sunshine. So any stress might be coming on. So the three together is a heck of a product, and it's relatively inexpensive as well.
Oh, it is. It absolutely is. It's literally, for your end result, literally pennies on the dollar.
Yeah, so just a couple dollars an acre, several applications, 2 or 3 applications, along with some PGRs. That's a good start for something that will go a long way.
And now, Perry, a lot of people don't realize, talking about cotton, let's talk about cotton a little bit. A lot of people don't realize calcium concerns with cotton. And calcium can eat you alive if you're lacking it on cotton.
Yeah, so I had this question yesterday about the liquid calcium products. Unfortunately, I have not used a lot of it. They're hard to tank mix. They're typically low analysis, just 2 or 3%. I don't know. There may be some 5% stuff out there.
We're running at 20, Perry.
Are you really?
Yeah. So when it comes to
Are you running? Is it key? I mean, how are you running with anything by itself?
So it all depends. So the biggest thing we found out is there's a company out there that's essentially.
I mean, is it a slurry? I'm sorry I'm interrupting you, but is it a slurry or is it a true liquid?
It's a liquid. And that's
okay.
and that's what I was going to say. The first year we used it, essentially somebody was making a slurry out of ag lime.
Yeah.
And and you had more of it in the bottom of the tank than you did get on the plants.
Yep.
There's a calcium acetate out there, and then there's another product that's a 20% that we're using, and man, we've blended that stuff with about everything. And as long as you got good agitation on the tanks, we've had really, really good success.
That's the big thing, is your agitation.
But you got to be moving volume.
We actually did a test 2 years ago and had great results with a calcium acetate on peanuts, and we're able to drop land plaster completely on those peanuts.
Miller makes one of the best grade potassium acetates, and that's simply because they screen and whenever they're getting their raw product in, I want to say it was like 90% of it went through a 200 sieve. I mean, that's fine. And that one's
said potassium. Did you say potassium acetate? Is that what you meant to say, or you said
calcium acetate? Calcium acetate.
Okay. Yeah. Okay. I thought you said potassium acetate. All right.
No,
okay.
they got a calcium acetate, and it's a very fine particle. And then the other one that we're using, that's a 20% calcium. It's the same screen size. It's just a little bit cheaper. It is a calcium carbonate, but it's not a slurry. It's an actual liquid.
Yeah. And
So
there's a lot of them on the market, but you have to be very careful. There's only about 2 or 3 out there that will not create a problem but work quite well.
Yeah. I'll have to look in that because unfortunately, I have not used a lot of liquid calcium products. But, I put out a lot of ag lime.
Yeah.
Probably once every 4 years. Hey, I'm going to step off just for a second. I'm going to have to lay my phone down. I'll be right back.
No worries, Perry. You're good. I appreciate everybody tuning in tonight, making comments on all the platforms, being with us.
Brandon, what were we talking about before?
We talk about Ag Explorer, and you were talking about the products that Corey was trying on his farm.
Onward.
Architect.
Yep.
Your Onward Max.
Yeah, I remember that. We were talking about, was it Pete? What were we talking about with after PGRs? I was going to say something, but Brandon moved to cotton. Hell, I can't remember.
I squirrel. You know that. As
Oh,
long
I
as
know.
you know me, you know that I squirrel.
Yeah.
That's why I created Flock Off. Squirrel. We bounce. We bounce.
That's funny. I think it's actually time to roll into the show if we can here, and then we can come back with some more questions. If anybody's got questions, they want to post them in the comments during the episode watch party here, and then we'll come back with hopefully Perry, Russell, and maybe a few more for some questions afterwards. Does that sound good?
Sounds good. Let's roll that wonderful bean footage.
Let's roll it if you got it, ladies and gentlemen. Episode 3 of season 2, A Growing Rivalry is the title. Happy to bring you another episode. Here we go.
It's time for a new season of Top Crop. The health of our soil is going to contribute to us making money.
I call it turning trash into cash.
I'm still looking for big wins.
I think it looks good. What's up, Top Crop? We've been having a full day today. Started out in the shop working on the corn planter, looking at our deep injection bar. We've had some people from South Africa, from Missouri, from Venezuela. Sam, he's in from Wisconsin. We've got Danny from Kentucky. And today we've really just been looking at how can we increase return on investment on the farm. We've been out here spraying some beans, spraying corn. Tomorrow we'll have a day of spraying and spreading as well. Really just looking at how do we use the products most effectively? How do we get that maximum return on investment? And pulling tissue samples, having our foliar script program, thanks to Seth for the name, give credit where it's due. Really being able to put the right number of ounces that this crop needs to be balanced, balance those ratios. I mean, we've had some pretty rough spots in the field where we've been digging out these ditches, getting water off, but we're really shooting for 500 bushels. Next week, we're gonna get our irrigation set out and really try to see what we can do with a crop where we don't have water as a limiting factor. All right, Top Crop, we're gonna share with you one of the secrets that we've been using this last few years. So this was a tissue sample we put on this field, corn. We pulled it at V3. You can see nitrogen 4.2, phosphorus 0.44, potassium 3.13. Then we've got all of our micros and macros down here. And the biggest thing that we've seen from these tissue samples are producers really don't have a management decision. So we partnered with a company called Transparency Wise. And what Transparency Wise helped us do is we built a program that would essentially say, we're spraying a 24% potassium and we needed to spray 18 ounces of that to actually get the plant back in its sufficiency range, because being too low in nutrients is actually just as detrimental as being too high. When you go too high, you can start messing with some of the ratios like nitrogen to sulfur, nitrogen to potassium. And so it really gives us, even for like our molybdenum, we're spraying a 3% molybdenum, it only called for 2 ounces. We're spraying a 10% boron, called for 4 ounces. And so it gives us the management tools to say, we're looking at V4, the next stage. We want to have this plant in balance. We've had way too much water out here. The plant's not been, peak performance with no sunlight. And so what can we do with this drone to maximize efficiency of that plant? And, based upon what we're seeing over here and what we're spraying, I would say we're set up for a pretty good season if we continue to have rainfall. So the cost on this right now for a 40-acre composite is 13 cents an acre. And if you're doing a 20-acre compositive, it's 25 cents an acre. So for 25 cents an acre, we've got a management decision that just saved us $18 an acre. That's what return on investment is all about, and that's what we're here at Top Crop trying to teach everybody. So stay tuned. We're running 32% nitrogen with a humic in it called Humic K. We're also running 1 quart of fulvic for every 15 gallons, 2 ounces of moly in furrow and 2 ounces in the 2x2. We've got 8 ounces of boron in the 2x2. So that'll be 4 ounces on either side of the row. On our in furrow, we're running 1.5 gallons of total phos, the vermicompost, extract. We've got organic. We've got 2 ounces of calcium, 2.0 from Redox in the 2x2. Once we get the tanks filled up, you really want to have a large volume of fluid recirculating, but then we're going to put in our mainstay SI, which is silica. We'll be ready to roll, throw a little seed in the planter.
In the past 3 years, we're 365 GDUs behind schedule. So that is one of our concerns here. You know, if we don't have solar, we don't have GDUs, we don't have photosynthesis, we don't have energy into that plant. So that's where, when you guys approached about Architect and being able to add that on at that V5 time frame, I was really excited for it. Definitely looks like it's doing its job here. I'm excited to take it to yield and see if we can't get it on every acre next year.
We've been very happy with the roadability. They've been very smooth on the road, not bouncy. They don't have the loud sprayer noise. So we're going to be putting a lot of high road miles, a lot of heat, and in the summertime. So we're really excited to see that, and the less compaction, our clay soils getting over it, and sometimes even tougher conditions.
We have a very aggressive warranty on these. They're 7 years. It even covers field hazard and stubble protection, which means that see how it really does feel. We have a great quality tire, and we're standing behind that.
Cornstalk stubble is extremely hard on tires, so that's really good for us.
What's the coolest thing we're doing this year? I think it's the relay cropping. Might not make the most money, might not even work, but it's pretty cool. It's pretty cool to look at, it's pretty cool to try. I think we're gonna be successful, but not gonna say that till we get her harvested. As you can see, we planted. We got our twin rows right down in between the wheat rows, which was, I copied kind of what Jason Mock's doing out in Indiana. A lot of you guys have seen him on social, and I spoke with him. He gave me some pointers, so kind of using him as a little bit of a teacher. Give credit where credit's due. It's new to me. I mean, we're treating the wheat like we normally would. We're giving it nitrogen. We were successful in keeping the nitrogen off the beans with streamer bars. Today, we put fungicide on and some micronutrients on the, well, I was gonna say on the wheat, but it's actually over the whole field. We did it with a drone from Best Way Ag, came down and gave us a demo, and pretty cool. We're probably be looking to get one of those, pretty neat. We're gonna watch this real close. Top Crop's gonna monitor it through the year very closely. You'll definitely be here when we harvest. Kind of had to retrofit something. I'll be using my old 7720, which will be cool. It's not high capacity compared to today's machines, but it's cooler than anything out there now. It's my opinion. I like old school mechanical. So anyway, if you look, we put the beans in, with the same drill that we put the wheat in. We just blocked off the different rows. It's not as accurate as a planter, a little bit of a controlled spill, but I got bean rows and I got a pretty decent stand. So, I mean, that's half the battle, right? I think it's just going to continue to look neater and neater as things progress. A couple things I would like to show that, we'll see if we're going to change next year or not. I don't know. This particular set of, this is like four rows in here that are 10 inches apart. This did not get drove on at all, and you can see that's pretty well even. This set did. When we planted the beans, we had to drive on some of it. So it's not horrible, but you can see we did damage it somewhat on each side here. I don't think it'll be, like I said, I don't think it's going to be huge yield detriment. Probably dinging a little bit, but that was kind of part of the situation. So I'm real excited about this. I think it's going to be pretty cool. What I'm most excited for is when the wheat is, turns yellow. You'll have the nice green beans under, and that'll just be about like a scenic painting. As a farmer, those are kind of things we get kicks out of, is actually just beauty within the field. And I'm old enough now, I really appreciate a lot of that stuff. And it just shows you if you put your heart into something, and and you really try, and it just makes a guy feel good. I'll put it that way. So it shows fruit from your effort. So really hoping this turns out well. I don't see why it won't as of right now. We've got a couple of the things already done, so we're heading that way. And if we don't see it before, you guys will see it at harvest. Hopefully Seth will be out one more time, or else we can do some phone video stuff, to kind of watch the progression of this. But relay cropping wheat and soybeans. I think it's going to work. Hey, top croppers. Upward, another product we are using of Ag Explorers this year. It was in our starter program on the planter for our contest cornfields. What this product is, it's kind of a three-way product. It has fulvic and humic in it. It has sugars, I think a combination of sugars, I believe. Complex carbohydrates, I think, if you want to get fancy. It also has a phosphorus enhancement thing in there, and I don't know the technology behind that or exactly what it is. But anytime you can get phosphorus to get into the plant quicker at an early stage, that's a big thing for us in our starter programs. The name kind of says it all, Upward. That's the design. It's a starter enhancement to get that crop, that little seed, right up out of the ground and going, and that's what we're after. So Upward from Ag Explorer, you might want to take a look at this one. It's kind of an all-in-one jug thing. It's got 3 different components. Give it a try.
So this is Organics with deep injection. This is Organics with dry over the top. And it should be 18 rows to the next flag. And this is our Organics with dry fertilizer broadcast. The plant health is definitely better. We're seeing the first lower leaf is starting to stress a little bit. Here we might have been 1 or 2 leaves below the ear leaf that's already started to drop off and brown up. So the crop stress is a lot less where we had the Organics.
Another thing that we're doing, the sugars, octane. We got to have that sugar. We got to have the kelpine for the stress mitigation. And then the big one, something we found out just 2 years ago, we've been toying with, and we found it consistent. Onward Max, 6.5 ounces. And let me tell you, the trials that we ran with that, there's a reason why it's going on every single acre of our corn.
Choose your herbicide. Choose your pest protection. Choose AgVenture. The latest trait technologies featuring the power of the Enlist weed control system, plus the quality and service you know and trust. Produce more bushels with 4-seed Enlist and PowerCore Enlist corn from AgVenture. Visit agventure.com/corn traits to get a whole farm solution with the latest corn traits.
Hey, I'm Russell Hedrick, and you're watching Top Crop. We're here today in one of our plot fields where we've been working with AgVenture and Sweetwater Creek Seeds. We've got Brooks and Brooks. Makes it easy for me to remember when I need to order. We've got several different varieties, 2816, 4713, 3517, 3514,
318, 9916.
9318, 9916. We've even got some 6010 and
Junkyard Dog.
The old Junkyard Dog 9583. We replicated this field with the plots here on the upper part. We're actually working with some of our biologicals in the middle of the field where we added Calfa from Miller Chemical. It's a carboxylic acid, supposed to help us with nutrient availability. And then right below that, working with Corey Atlee at Advanced Yield, we put in some kelpine. Came out here a couple weeks ago, started doing some root digs, and we're already seeing, massive differences from just straight fertility to adding the Calfa and then even adding the kelpine in. And really kind of happy with what we're seeing from these Ag Venture varieties. But
we speak to the guys up above us, and they're telling us that they think the 2816 may be a better fit for us all the way around as a whole package on the 2816.
And if a farmer needs more modes of action, you know, the 2816, that's going to be the Vor seed, correct?
That's the Power Core.
Power Core.
Yep.
Okay.
So it'll be Roundup Liberty and Enlist.
Okay.
Yep.
So, you know,
as well as the 9318, I believe will have that.
The 9318 will be the Power Core.
Yep.
So, I mean, we don't really have to have those tools in our toolbox here yet, but you know, there are other areas that they may need those modes of actions, and that's just another brand, a line that y'all can come in with the brand and give them some other options on their herbicide passes.
That's right, and our whole bean lineup will be fully Enlist in 25.
Okay, so full beans by 25.
Yep.
Okay, so we've been planting, so last year this field was the 49 A1E beans. It was the first year that we had planted those, and you know, put lots of pictures out. Some of them made the show in episode 6, and I mean, this ground is not terrible ground. This is kind of our middle of the road ground, really heavy in clay, high iron content, and those beans really performed well for us last year. I think this field average ended up being like 79, 80 bushels, which was a really good year for us because we were dry. You know, this year we're trying the new 4.8, giving those a try, seeing how those are going to work out, and you know, stay tuned, see how we're progressing with these plots and what we're going to see for yield and how we make the, you know, ultimately for us, you know, doing these with Sweetwater Creek seed, that's how we make the decision for next season, which one of these varieties are we going to start putting over more acres and see the most yield out of them and most return on investment.
That's right. And we actually make our own seed choices from decisions from plots like these, so it really helps us in the future.
If you're interested in working with either one of you guys, you know, Sweetwater Creek seed out in the eastern part of the state, you know, how do they get a hold of you, Brooks?
You can get a hold of me at sweetwatercreekseeds.com.
Yep, Facebook, Sweetwater Creek Seeds, Instagram as well, and we also have a Twitter page. But the old man runs that, so be careful.
Kind of the funny thing this year for us is, you know, it's fun to have some good competition, and I'll tell you guys, I sent Corey a picture of some of our Ag Venture corn, and he sent me a text message back, and it was a picture of Ag Venture seed, and he said, hey, I'm gonna beat you with your own brand. So, you know, maybe Corey sees the same success with Ag Venture that we're doing, and I know he also plants a lot of other varieties. I mean, they got a ton of acres to cover, but looking forward to the season, and maybe you guys can make it back out here, harvest time. We'll get these plots picked and really see what we're getting off of them.
Yep, look forward to it. See what kind of yields we get this year.
Another thing that we're doing, the sugars, octane. We got to have that sugar. We got to have the kelpine for the stress mitigation. And then the big one, something we found out just 2 years ago, we've been toying with and we found it consistent. And we found it consistent. Onward Max, 6.5 ounces. And let me tell you, the trials that we ran with that, there's a reason why it's going on every single acre of our corn. Fungicide we're using is Veltima, because our 3rd year with it. It's been working great. There has been some tar spot already spotted in northern Ohio. Normally we've already flown all this corn, but we was able to wait until July 26th today. It's already past blister stage, starting to fill out already. Clearly we've been able to keep disease pressure away, and Veltima should protect us all the way through the rest of the season.
Last year for the show, we dubbed this field the bottom of the barrel. Last year for the show, we dubbed this field the bottom of the barrel. This is the worst fertility, pH, chemistry, and soils from the Haney test that I've ever seen on any farm we've ever picked up. 3 to 4 pounds. Potassium was in the 20s. pH was 4.8 to 5.4, depending on where it was in the field. And so we've done a lot of work. We worked with lithos carbon, and we applied salts instead of ag lime. We got the pH 6.4, 6.5. Took us 2 years to get it up to that point. Calcium numbers are good. Worked with Dark Water Enterprises, got gypsum. We've had gypsum put out on these fields.
So Russell, this was called bottom of the barrel?
This is the bottom of the barrel.
Because it was so bad in pH, chemistry, low phosphorus.
Low phosphorus. I mean, all fertility was low. I mean, I think the calcium on this field the first year was like 130 pounds.
So what do you think happened in this field before?
They just mined out of it.
So what was planted here before?
So we had
tobacco
beans
and all that kind of stuff for years?
No, they were doing corn and beans. Didn't work, but there was a house up here and a house there, and there was actually a house on that side of the field. Those got tore down. This little area right here, we've actually got to dig it down. There's so much debris and metal and nails. We're going to dig it down this season and get it where we can start planting it. But so like last year, this was like the most controversial field that we had, because the upper 5 acres was Haney test, and then we did Milic 3, Haney test.
Oh, was this the field?
This was the field.
Oh, wow.
And then at the very bottom, we had the Haney test with our foliar program. And so the Haney test with our foliar program. And
why was it controversial?
I don't know. People are dumb. Well, people were upset because it's not the norm, and you know, people have based their whole PhDs and careers on saying the Milic 3 was good. And I mean, we've had the Milic 3 for what, 40, 50 years now, and
60, 70,
and
probably,
you know, we're still changing phosphorus recommendations on it and trying to figure it out after 50 years. It's just junk. And we did our foliar passes, and our farm management, we were at around 82 to 83 bushels. On the Haney test, we did nitrogen, phosphorus, potassium. We did hot water extraction with the Haney test for boron. Boron in the Haney plots versus even Milic 3. For years we were doing tissues tests, and when we were doing tissue tests with Milic, it would say apply this much boron, and we would, and then we would tissue sample and molybdenum, and I think we're paying $4 to have that, and they're 2 to 3 times higher rates.
Oh, efficiency.
Well, it's 2 to 3 times more boron based on hot water extraction than Milic, and that's the first time we started seeing sufficient, adequate, and even some hitting some upper end high numbers. And so we did that in 5 acre replications all the way down the field, and then the very last 5 acres was the plot with the Haney and our foliar program. There's orange flags on both sides of the field. It probably looks like an industrial park's getting ready to go in here. So this and then we've also even got plots in this field with biology, without biology. We've also got plots where the fertilizer bar that y'all saw in the shop where we're doing the deep injection, we wanted to know what's the return on investment. So, you know, if we're going to tractor depreciation, our fuel costs, paying me $20 an hour. You know, everything that went into it is costing us about $5 an acre to run that bar, which is a bushel of corn, a half a bushel of beans. And so we've even got where we did the fertilizer deep injection liquid, and then we've percent of dry fertility. And to really look at, you know, if we're doing the deep injection and the Haney test calls for 75 pounds of potassium, we're cutting 25% of that off automatically. So we're already cutting 25% of our P and K doing the deep injection over broadcasting, and we're not seeing any yield detriment. And then we've also got the fertilizer bar in the backfield where we did 100% based on Haney, 75, 50, and 25%. And we're seeing really, you know, can we cut back even more than 25% over the rest of our, you know, production acres? The only part that I truly care about is like where you see the water start right there. If you come over 18 rows, that little dog leg right there, that's part of our contest plot. Yeah, so it doesn't matter. We're going to get it planted. That will not be a zero like it was last year. It may be a, you know, what I'm really hoping for is I'm really hoping for this field to average 140 bushels. I mean, the goal is 150. With some of the stress we've had, I don't really know if that's going to be achievable, but if we can get this replanted and hopefully come in that 120 to 140 range, that's still what we're shooting for on these beans, and that's what we're going to continue to do our tissue sampling. We've got the new program that rolled out, foliar scripts. We'll have that tomorrow, have our printouts where we can actually see, you know, we're pulling a tissue sample on these crops. It's generating what we actually need to apply down to the ounce to make some corrections. And that's really one of the ways for us to economically keep these plants in balance.
Another thing that we're doing, the sugars, octane. We gotta have that sugar. We gotta have the kelpine for the stress mitigation. And then the big one, something we found out just 2 years ago, we've been toying with and we found it consistent. Onward Max, 6.5 ounces. And let me tell you, the trials that we ran with that, there's a reason why it's going on every single acre of our corn.
Welcome back in, everybody. Welcome back in. Top Crop TV, Season 2, Episode 3. Russell, what'd you think?
I think that you have a good way of capturing all of our struggles.
Well, that's a real life story on the farm. Not really any way to beat around that bush too easy.
Yeah, I mean, we continue to learn new things every year, try new things, and sometimes they work, sometimes they don't. But I can tell you right now, I don't think that our farm is going to operate in the future without drones. The efficiency of getting that drone out there, making that pass, not damage. That's my biggest thing, man, is we're spending all this time and effort on making sure the planter's good. We're planting at 100%, and I absolutely hate running crop over. And so, you know, if we're able to use the drone, not run that crop over, you know, I just don't see where, you know, what's a new sprayer now, Brandon? 800,000. Oh, you're on mute.
We looked at a used one last year, and it's $440, and a new Fendt is $590.
So for 590,000, I can buy 10 drones.
Yes.
You know, even on a bad day, a drone's going to cover 30 acres an hour if you're running it right. I mean, obviously we can't swarm that many yet, but you know, I think that's the next thing, Seth, is we're going to try to apply for our nighttime exemption. We're going to apply for our swarm exemption. We're going to be able to do even more with these drones because there's
Yeah.
stuff that hadn't made the show, like those lights. Seth has got to see the lights. But using the lights at nighttime and kicking that plant back on and doing stuff like that, maybe that makes season 3. I don't know yet.
Yeah, those lights are cool, and they've got a cool purpose too. Putting them out there. Tell us why you do the light.
So we started looking at, like, can you kick a plant back on and actually gain GDUs? And depending on where you're at in the moon phase, there are particular lights that we can run and kick that plant back on and gain extra nutrient uptake. So have to stay tuned for season 3 to catch those.
Yeah, we're doing some pretty neat things on Top Crop. It's an honor to be a part of some of the experiments that take place on some of the farms, and the drones were definitely a highlight for season 2 of Top Crop.
It got deleted by accident. And John, if you'll repost your comment, John was asking questions because they don't use in Australia. They don't use a lot of the drones, and he had asked the question, and I went to click on it and put it on. Instead, it deleted. But John was asking some questions about the GPS on the drone and control of it.
Where's that in the chat? That in the comments?
I deleted it by accident.
Oh, well, John posted them back
on the screen. John Huon, our favorite buddy from Australia.
So, Brandon, when you were talking about on peanuts using the calcium product, was that the calcium acetate?
Yes, it was.
Okay. Brooks had messaged me on it. I just wanted to, make sure I remember that right.
It is the calcium acetate product.
Okay.
It was three applications in one season, and it made about a 1,500 pound difference per acre.
That sounds like a lot. I don't know for sure, but
it's a lot.
I don't know peanuts too well.
I mean, 1,500 pounds of nuts is a lot, sis.
Yeah. It sounds like a lot. That's what I'm saying.
It is. Well, when you consider our average last year, I think was on that particular test plot, the control lot was 1,800 pounds, and the treated ended up at about 5,400 pounds.
So, Seth, just to put that in redneck terms, that's about 150 crock pots of boiled peanuts.
Wow. Good
you
to
gotta
know.
You got to do the conversion for these people, Brandon. They don't live like us.
Okay, so and that I hadn't thought of it that way, but yes, that works. That's about what it works out to. Yes, Brooks, it was versus land plaster. The test plot actually had no land plaster whatsoever. And
Mega Dave pointing out in the chat that I seem to have found the light while we were on a break there. I don't know if y'all noticed anything about my hat, but I was feeling a little left out. So
I can't see your hat. I've got to get closer so I can see it.
Yeah, can you see it better now?
Yeah, now I can see it.
They seem to be sensing a theme in the room.
Wait a minute. I like my hat. My hat has better color than y'all's.
Yes. I mean, listen, guys, I've known Bryant Bass for like 10 years, and I don't even have. They gave me a lot of hats in a hoodie, and actually I got Seth's hoodie here, and if he don't come get it soon, I'm gonna start wearing it.
That's true.
But Seth has got all the nice colored ones.
Right. Yeah, we got your new one right here. We got this. Oh no, yeah, we got this one for you.
No, wait a minute. That should be Maisie's hat.
I was gonna say Emma might like that one.
Yeah, we gotta get you a couple extra. Let's go. Big shout out this week to our sponsors, though. Ag Explorer, our presented by sponsor, taking care of us real well. this year. We got some of their products on pretty much every farm this year. We got BASF, our in association with sponsor. We've got Ag Venture featured tonight in episode 3 of season 2 of Top Crop. Who else? We had Best Way featured in there tonight. We got Holganics is always doing great work on the farm.
Hey, I just want to say there's a bunch of companies out there that sell drones. If you're gonna buy a drone and you want quality, top-notch service, call Best Way Ag in Hopkinsville.
Absolutely.
You got
Absolutely.
James. You got James down in Alabama. You got Ryan up in Kentucky. Jeff's in Florida. Sam's out there all the way, in no man's land, Wisconsin, where it's cold. I don't know why he doesn't move. But those guys, I mean, don't take it the wrong way. When Seth makes a video, it looks really fun. But when you're learning to fly a drone, it's kind of like a baby giraffe learning to walk for the first time. And, being able to pick up the phone call while you're in the field with a problem and say, this is what I need it to do, but I don't know how to make that happen. And they can tell you over the phone, really makes a huge difference in getting the most efficiency out of these machines.
Here is something that I saw that made me absolutely fall that they are the top company. There was someone that I know that had a drone. They bought it from someone else, and the software would not upload. Their software update would not upload. The person they bought it from did not know how to fix it. Guess who fixed it?
Best Way.
Absolutely.
And
that said it all right there.
And they have to, like these drone trailers, Top Notch Trailer is building these things and really ramping these things out. And Tanner builds a heck of a trailer. I was going to get a DT1, and then I saw the DTX at Commodity Classic with Seth, and I'm not saying I would trade a family member for one, but daggone, it's a nice trailer. And I didn't think I was going to get one. I mean, they were on back order, and Ryan came down here to my field day in September, and he showed up, and he was like, yeah, man, what do you think about this trailer? And I'm like, dude, that is a bad trailer. Like, where'd you get that at? He's like, it's yours. I brought it to you. Finally got to get it. And then, 2 weeks later, we're hauling this thing up there on the mountain. Those DTX trailers, the Top Notch trailers that Best Way's, working with Top Notch and Best Way. So if you need a drone trailer, that's the one that I would recommend too. They are built bulletproof.
Yeah.
And you put it through the ringer up there in the mountains too.
Man, I had so much hate on that TikTok video I made where people were like, that trailer ain't going to go in your fields and you ain't going to be able to maneuver that thing. Dude, I took that thing up on hey, we took that trailer on a road called Lower Pigpen Drive. And it was a pig pen gravel road to get up there to Green Mountain. And those trailers had no problem going up on them roads. So
I remember the only thing you were worried about going up that mountain was whether you were going to have service or not.
Yeah. And I'm telling you, dude, like right when the hurricane first happened, you hit exit 86 and it was gone.
Yeah. Yeah, it was. Yeah, it was.
No, I'm excited for season 2 because now we've got a big old inductor tank. We've got an electronic pump. I got air condition now in the enclosure in the front. I was just talking with Sam today about the generator. We're going to upgrade generators, and we're going to have a Mac Daddy generator for season 3, and really be able to push that thing through the ringer and see how many acres an hour we can get out of it.
Let's go. Plus, with your night waver and swarming capabilities, that should increase the acre potential there.
Well, and I think the nighttime exemption is going to be big for areas really outside of where me and Brandon are, because it seems the wind blows.
Yeah.
Every hour that
Absolutely.
the sun is up in Kansas, Nebraska, and really with their nighttime, wind going down, that's going to give them the option to really get the best out of these things.
By the way, what was your temperature today?
71 degrees, buddy. It was hot.
83.
Well,
83. And
Well,
I
when I
talked to
was,
the boys in Indiana, and it was 32.
I had a conversation with a boy today in the Dakotas. It was 14, and you know that's one of the things that Brian Bledsoe. If you haven't ever heard of him, he's on Twitter. I've been following him on weather patterns, and he's saying that we're going to have a 2021 this year is going to be really similar to that year, and
Yeah.
start making some plans for the heat during pollination.
Yeah. Yeah. Sad thing is, they're saying now that we're going to have another cold front week after next. This is going to be just like we had earlier.
Yeah, they're calling for like record snow here.
Yeah. Yeah. And that's talking about messed up weather. We're trying to work on planters today in 80-degree weather, and they're talking in 2 weeks that we're going to be back a high of 45.
Yeah, it's been a wild weather season, and it doesn't look like it's getting any better. Did y'all see Puxatawny Phil earlier?
The
groundhog.
Hey, Perry just texted me. I think he's backstage.
Oh, nice.
I'll add him. Oh, you got him.
I got him. Welcome back, Perry. Good to see you, friend.
I've been backstage for 20 minutes.
Oh no!
I
so
text
sorry.
you, Sam. I said, all right, I'll quit fussing though.
So David was asking if we would run the drone to help with the heat. You know, we're going to be running the kelpine in furrow. If we need it over the top, we'll run the kelpine. Some of the other stuff that we've seen, like running the potassium acetate, you know, even to something as small as a half a gallon, has really helped. That and some sugar. Sugars have really helped with some of our heat stress. So that'll be some of the stuff we'll be doing, Dave.
Now, all right, here's one thing that I heard last year, and I want to, this is me not knowing because I don't mess with the drones, but we had someone here closer to us that was using a drone during pollination time. Russell?
Listen, you can't be giving away all the secrets now.
I saw him doing it, and it was not Russell. Just so y'all know, it was not Russell.
You set that drone at 30 miles an hour and 20 foot off the canopy, and you'll see some differences.
That's what he did. Bryant Bass said he got to meet Otis today.
He got to meet Otis, and he made it through.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, if you're seeing stress during pollination, I mean, even if we're seeing, I mean, like Perry, if Perry's in super high humidity and super high heat, and he's not seeing that nighttime temperature cool down, even running the drone.
We were 78 today. Someone asked that question a while ago while I was backstage. So we made it 78, but next week it's going to be in the 40s. And hey, before y'all get off the subject, running the drones during pollination, you know, that's an old airplane trick. Fly those airplanes, you know, above the canopy, just stir it up, move some pollen around, move some air around. You know, they call it flying frost too, like when there's going to be some unseasonably cool weather in you know, Florida or even South Georgia on some of the produce down there, the citrus, I guess, mainly.
Well, see,
fly
now
those planes and you know, push a little heat, stir that air up, push a little heat down there, and keep the frost off the
I learned with an old bale, a UH1, and it makes it does a job.
Yeah, it definitely works. I mean, been doing it for years. So
now, Perry, coming into this year, you've had hot, cold as we're starting this new season. And now, you know, we're like you said, you're warm up today. We're going to be in the high in the 40s next couple of weeks. What is that going to do for your strategy coming into the year? Because that so much for GDUs on the soil, you'll get them warm and cold again.
You know, I think I said this the last time I was on. It's just now the 6th of February. I think it's still a little early. I really won't look at doing much anything until the middle of March, and then that's so. What the temperature does from now and then, or now between now and the middle of March.
Yeah,
I'm not too concerned about. There's nothing I can do about it.
Are they calling for on the long range, or are they calling for excessive rain for you or drier rain?
I heard a friend of mine say yesterday that we're supposed to have a really wet spring, so that does kind of concern me, especially if it's wet. We need to start looking at some burn down. I have
And
never felt like I put out burn down too early. I put it out too late before and regretted it, but now's the time to, over the next few weeks or 2 weeks, get it out, let it go to work, and it'll still be.
It's funny because they're showing y'all above normal moisture, and I think Russell and I are actually, well, Russell's probably right on the line, but we're in the below normal.
Wow.
And we're already actually dry. We're
furthest from dry. We're wet. We got depending on where you were, 3 to 5 inches last week. We got an inch yesterday, and it was pretty much foggy and cloudy all day today. So we hadn't dried any.
What'd you get? Did you get any last night, Russell, and that they came through for us?
Man, I got a weird rain Tuesday and last night both.
We got 3/10 last night on one farm and 0 at all the others. Nobody else got it. Just one farm got it.
Yeah, it came across the north side of Bar County. I mean, I'm out here trying to burn brush piles and get stuff cleaned up out of fields, and here it is raining on them, and it wasn't even calling for rain. I'll take dry. I mean, right now dry doesn't bother me.
We're bad dry. We are, ever since the hurricanes. We've had a couple of decent rains, but it hasn't been. We've got dry. Our soil's dry deep right now.
Wow.
Perry, you can send some to South Carolina, Georgia.
Well,
take it.
I'll want this moisture in late June and July and early August.
Yeah.
We didn't have to really irrigate last year until the first part of August. Now we did have a little bit early. We got a rain on June the 17th, and it rained 2 to 3 inches every week through the 1st of August. Really nice. But then August it turned off dry, and we've had a few decent rains since harvest. Harvest meaning we were through with harvest by the 1st of November, I guess. We've had I don't know how much rain, probably 8 to 10 inches total. So I don't know, but what the soil temperatures right now, the only thing it might help, and I just mentioned this on the burn downs, you could use a little lower rate on some of your tank mix, just because it'll work a little better in the warmer temperatures. But I'd be cautious about putting it out too low a rate in front of another cold snap.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, planting season's going to be here before we know it, and episode 4 is going to be here before we know it too. Next week, the battle for the fields. Perry will be featured, and we'll take a look at the corn, the beans, the cotton, the wheat, and the rice over in Arkansas. Pretty diverse operation you got there, Perry. Pretty cool. What did you see this year with that variability and diversity on your farm? What was one of the takeaways for you, adding cotton in for another year?
Even the cotton, I'd say some of the best overall yields we've had. Rice was probably average, but cotton, corn, soybeans, they were all pretty close to their top yields, at least for years, or for several years. And that moisture just helped so much in June and July. The only thing that really hurt, and I know I'm speaking to an all-knowing crowd, is the input costs and of course commodity prices. And we're getting a little bit of reprieve on pricing right now, but if you still have something left to sell, and I hope everyone does. Anyone have an opinion on the markets for this week, I guess?
It's been crazy. I heard some numbers here today. They were up. Now they're back down, and then the guy called today wanting March and wanted put them back up again for March. So You know,
Yeah.
we still got some in the
Crop
bin.
mixes. Crop mixes going into this year. I'd say they've changed pretty drastically in the last month.
Oh yeah, definitely. The only
I would
thing,
say everything's flipped from a lot of corn now.
yeah,
Where a month ago it was like, ugh, how are we gonna plant corn at $4? Now we're at, I think
I
it's at
heard today
4.90. I think.
several others going. Now we don't have a lot of beans here around us, other than
Right.
what we grow, because we grow what we grow.
Yep.
But I heard today 3 more farmers that we talked to today were going to put in beans this year now.
Huh. It's interesting. Corn closed what today? Well, March I think was 4.95. I don't know what September. Do y'all sell in September? New crop or December?
We do December.
Yeah. See, we'll start with September. So the new crop bases are pretty soft right now, I guess.
Yeah.
Especially since the uptick in the actual futures market.
Now, Russell,
all
this
can
episode
change.
3 that we just watched was kind of a cool trip, being able to have Archuleta there and some of those other folks. I remember there was a conversation that didn't make it into the show because we weren't mic'd up at the time, but it did make it to social media. And it was all about, well, Ray was asking you a question about why do you do what you do? Why do you strive so hard to achieve the yields and to make what you do as profitable as you do? And you had a great response. It was recently reposted on the talk today, even by another farmer who was agreeing pretty strongly with what you were saying. Give us a recap on what that was and tell us why that's important to you.
I mean, well, one, farming's too dang hard not to try to make money at it. I mean, mentally, physically, financially. You're essentially. I think it would be a safer bet to go to Las Vegas and just bet on red or black on a roulette wheel, compared to knowing if it's going to rain or not in the middle of the summer, like Perry was talking about. I think we ended up dubbing that Real Talk with Russell and Ray. And I mean, we just talked about. I mean, really, farmers have been let down by some of the, let's just call it research out there. They're doing research on fungicides or foliars or stuff that, they're not even doing it the right way. And they don't do it the right way because their bottom line isn't affected by it. If one of us needs to go spray, we're going to go spray the day that it needs to happen, or as soon as we can get in the field. They kind of lollygag around and then say, well, we didn't see a big benefit to this. We should have did it 3 weeks ago. And we just talked about the state of agriculture, where farmers are at. Inputs are up, crop prices are down. Maybe we'll be able to bring more of that to the show and do some more stuff with me and Ray. We were just talking shop, what it's like being in the ag sector, because I think that's one of the biggest issues is everybody thinks that farmers are out here to kill everybody and just spray, spray, spray. But they don't understand how much that chemical costs us when we're spraying the absolute minimum that we can to raise the best crop we can. So those are some of the things that we got to talk. And man, there was some people that really got fired up over that post. I don't even know where that ended up, but I think Facebook and TikTok, it was over 500,000 views.
Yeah, between the two, it was.
Yeah, and there were a lot of people that were just fired up about, well, I can't believe he's saying that. Well, that's fine. I mean, I'm not saying that extension's bad all across the country, but I've seen some good and I've seen some bad. And, call the bad ones out, make them do a better job, or tell them to move on down the road and do something different.
Well, that was my next question: is how do we fix some of that? Are there things that we can implement in university studies or recommendations we can give that can help with they got to do it like they got to get paid based on, I think you said they got to get paid like the same way as a farmer does.
Yeah, I told our commissioner that depending on how somebody runs their plot and what yield they make, that should determine what their income is, because that's how mine's determined. And that didn't go over too well. And I don't really think it's that we fix a broken system. I think that we've seen an alternative now, which is one of the things that I've been very fortunate enough that I met the right people at the right time. Where there are farmers. I mean, it was, even before, what we're doing on top crop, but you had your David Brants and your Ray Stiers and Nathan Louders here in North Carolina, John Pickler. A lot of those guys, when I, was first starting out in farming, they answered a phone call and I would say, hey, I'm thinking about trying this. Well, I did this and it worked good, and I did this and it worked out bad. And if it wouldn't have been for those farmers sharing what they did, success and failure, it would have taken us probably 20 years to get to where we're at now, 12 years later. So, I mean, there's a huge learning curve that I think farmer to farmer education takes a lot of the what if out of, a 20 by 50-foot plot at a station. I'm not saying that they don't get any good information from there, but I'm saying when you're looking at covering large acres, doing replicated plots, 5, 10 acres, and having whole field averages, that means more to me than something on a smaller scale. And that's what I've seen. I think farmers are going to keep pushing this forward, because if we don't help each other, it's not going to be good for any of us, except maybe a select few.
And that's one of the things we've been doing here a lot on the show. Everybody's sharing quite a bit about their crops and how they're managing them and what they're doing to create that profitable crop. Perry, what are your thoughts on the trials and the data that like you've been doing this a long time, Perry, and you're always doing your own trials, but what are your thoughts on where you get
Seth, are you saying
some
I'm
of your
old?
data?
Are you saying I'm old?
Well,
By saying
not
I've been doing this a
intentionally,
long time,
Perry.
that's the same as saying I'm really old. So thanks.
Who is
You're
the
not
oldest
old.
on the show?
Yeah.
Right. Maybe.
So anyway, this is kind of an interesting subject because I've been involved with the state of Arkansas, especially on the corn side of it, to make recommendations or accept and provide funding for university. They call them projects for 2025. So I've seen a lot of the proposals. I'm on the Arkansas State Arkansas Corn Board, so that's what we do. The check off dollars, we meet, look at all the projects, and approve or disapprove the researchers' request for funding. Um, and until I actually was doing this, I didn't really fully understand how it worked. I thought they just had unlimited funds, just wasting a lot of money. But this board in particular that I'm on, we said no to a lot of the projects. And we're all farmers. We didn't think, had any merit, um, short or long term. And we approved some that it's a multi-year project. So yeah, as far as research, Russell's talking about making better yields. After some of these projects, I'm trying to think how to say this, uh, or disproving things that might make better yields. So I don't know how you could compensate somebody on a higher yield if they're doing a research block, because they may be trying to prove something else. Look at something else. Lower rates. How low a rate can you go with a product, or whether it's fertility or even herbicide or insecticide. So there's some other factors in there besides just high yields, because like I say, at the end of the day, none of us would be here if we didn't have a positive ROI. Is that making any sense? It's all not just about doing a project to make a higher yield. Did I say that correctly?
No, you said it absolutely. I mean, it makes a lot of sense.
I
Yeah.
guess when I'm talking about it, Perry, like there's a YouTube video out there where they were looking at, do foliar sprays pay in soybeans? And it's
And that
the
argument's been out there forever. And yeah, I know
well,
exactly what you're
well,
going to say. Some universities say, no way, heck no, never have, never will. And unfortunately, Arkansas is one of those states. I think you'd have a hard time finding a extension person say that they provide positive ROIs, but they have to make recommendations that work in a lot of different cases every time.
Well, but
Now
what?
I know, and y'all know as well, that foliar products do in fact work if used
Yes.
correctly.
Yeah.
Well, and that's what I was getting ready to say. Is they got checkoff dollars. They went out there July the 20th. It's 12 o'clock. It's 100 degrees. The kid's got a 5-gallon backpack sprayer on there with an 8002 tip,
Yep.
and he's holding it. He's judging 20 inches off the crop, and he's pumping and spraying while he's walking, and you see half of it evaporate before it even makes it to the plant.
Yep.
And then they come back and say, well, we did this research, and foliar sprays didn't pay in this plot. Well, no kidding.
Yeah.
It's 100 degrees. You use the wrong. Well, even if you take out that particular tip for that crop canopy height and density, you need a coarse droplet to blow it down there and get that whole plant coverage. And there's so many factors that because their livelihood don't depend on it, they'll go out there and do it at the wrong time, the wrong rate, and the wrong way.
And that's
And
the way
then,
it's been forever.
yep, and that's what I get tired of, is them doing something like that. And I'm not saying they don't care, but the way that they go about it to me tells me that they don't have the same mentality as me of a farmer. Is I can go out there and do it just like they did, and I'm not going to see a return either. But why are they going to say that we're doing these plots and we're showing that it don't work? No, you're showing the way that you do it don't work.
That's a good way to put that, because I can go back 15 years when the corn yields were really going up, and I was working with some guys here in the state, and some research people, and they tried some of the tricks of the trade at that time. Higher nitrogen rates, higher this, multiple fungicide applications, foliar feeds, and they said it doesn't work. It didn't work. It was a negative ROI. But a simple example is, all right, we're going to put out just say 400 units of nitrogen instead of 200 or 220, whatever the recommendation here is. They just go put it all out at one time. I say, heck no, you're not going to see. You're not going to go. You're not going to see any response there doing it like that. You have to make multiple applications.
Yeah, if
Call
they
it
did
spoon
that, if
feed, call it whatever, but you don't just go out and dump out 400 units at emergence and say, "Boy, I've got it out there now, so I need to make whatever 400 bushels of corn." It
if
doesn't
they
work
put
like that.
if they
But
put 400
that's the
units of
kind that's
nitrogen out,
exactly what you're talking about. And I know you're talking about backpack sprayers and a college student, doing it, an intern. So I'm trying to make it even simpler. But that actually happened. Yep, for extra fertilizer, extra nitrogen did
well,
not work.
I'll give you another good example. So, Minnesota, do you know
Yeah,
how they make their nitrogen recommendation for a bushel of corn?
it's got to be some kind of historical something, I guess.
Nope, it's based on the current price of nitrogen. So
Really?
if nitrogen, it doesn't matter on yield. There's no factor of yield in there. It literally says if nitrogen is 60 cents a pound, apply X. If nitrogen goes up to 80 cents a pound, apply X, and takes nothing into consideration. And checkoff dollars went to that.
Yeah. Yeah, I do have a new respect for the checkoff program in Arkansas. I truly do.
Well, that's what I'm saying. There's good and bad. There
And I'm
really
not
is.
saying it's been good forever, but what I experienced here recently, it was good. I was impressed with the system. I liked all the research. Anyway, I won't get into all that, but yeah, it's all gets back to, I guess, timeliness and how you do it. And are you going to go to the lake, or are you going to work the weekend and put out your extra nitrogen or
Well,
your
and I think
foliar spray? Or
another important thing to remember is just because they tried it doesn't mean it's going to work on your farm. So,
Right.
and that's what the universities have to look out for before they make a blanket recommendation. It has to work in almost all cases.
I saw a university close to us do a study. Everything was done manually. It was in a quarter-acre plot, and they literally, after everything occurred, that was their recommendation for farms statewide.
Yeah,
Off of a
And
quarter acre.
he would now here's the thing, quarter acre, and they were spreading the fertilizer by hand.
Perry, you got time to do that?
No, I'm gonna give one other example because they can change their mind after a few seasons. You know, the inoculant on soybeans in Arkansas, they just would not recommend it. And I was using inoculants. Even playing with some double inoculants, and seeing results year after year after year. But the university would not recommend it. Then they came out and said, all right, so later in the season, double crop situation, say planted after June the 20th, inoculants probably help, 50% of the time. Well, over the years, they backed that date up. And now inoculants are recommended in the state of Arkansas for about any planting, whether it's a March planting or a double crop, extra late 10th of July. So they can change, or they will change. But again, most of their recommendations are driven by it's got to work and be profitable in a high percentage of the cases. I mean, it's the government, so.
Yeah, but that's not going to lead innovation. That's my point. When you want to talk about leading innovation, it is Perry Galloway doing this on his farm. This was the yield he got. Like if you're going to enter the bean contest, hey, I did this, 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 and this, and these are the things that we did to bump our yield up 10 more bushels on the farm average. And then other farmers are able to take that information, and they might not do it the same exact way as you because they're not starting out with the base saturate, the same
Yeah.
base nutrients and soil you are, but you can still take that information from another grower and put that over your operation, even if it's in a slight variation, and see a lot bigger gains than what we've typically been seeing out of research because it's just not innovative. I mean, we're trying to do things now to see if cereal rye is a good cover crop to sequester pigweed. Well, we did that 20 years ago and found that
Yeah,
out.
that's old news. Yeah. Well, you've used the word innovation, and I don't know how quick you expect things to innovate. And well, you're talking, you'd like to see it the next year. You do it 1 year, and then a lot of people adapt it, the next
We
year or two. But
we do
but I
3 years.
think it's. I'm sorry, say that again. 3 years.
Yeah, in 3 years you should know whether something has a likelihood of having a positive
So by
response.
the time you do it for 3 years, and then everybody else looks at it and thinks about it, it's probably gonna be another 3 years before a larger percentage of people actually adapt to your innovative action. So it's just not very quick. It doesn't seem like because, and here I'm gonna sound like a broken record. Granddaddy didn't do it like that, or great granddaddy didn't do it like that, or daddy didn't do it like that. So you still have a lot of that mentality in farming. You know, uh,
I always ask
Granddaddy did just fine. He didn't have to do it. He didn't do any of that stuff.
people that tell me that their dad or granddaddy didn't do it that way, I ask them if they take their rotary dial phone to the 4430 John Deere tractor to go
Yeah.
plant now too. Or, I mean, it's one of them things. Like, I don't think we should knock on the older generations. I think they
No.
did the best they could with the technology they had. But soil sensors, soil probes, satellite data, infrared, NDVI, drones,
Soil tests.
soil test. I mean, we've had so much innovation. If you're doing it like your granddaddy did it, you're going to be broke anyways in probably 5 or 10 years, unless you're burning through generational wealth.
Yeah.
And that's what I've seen.
I mean, there's truth to everything you've said. A lot of truth. But I know some people around here that still do it the way their granddaddy did, and they're relatively successful. You can't really argue.
Yeah.
They may not be making 100 bushels of soybeans, but they're making 60 and running 4640s or whatever. And it works for them, and they're not going to change. They take off for deer season and come back middle of April and think about planting. I remember those days.
Well,
All
in
about them
that,
margins.
and
You can keep the cost low.
a lot of the people that are relying on old school knowledge are going back. A lot of them do not handle change well. They just do not handle change well. I've seen some farms that are that could have huge potential, but they're scared that they're going to make a loss by making a short change. And yeah, there's a chance of it, but the other end of that scale is humongous. It's open-ended.
Well, I look at it like a lot of industries, they spend a good portion of their yearly budgets on research and development. My question is what on a farm is allocated to research and development, percentage wise, compared to an average industry?
I
What
would
would you
say,
say,
I'd
Perry?
say it'd be low on individual farm. That's why you
Yeah.
have that's why
Okay.
you have the extension. I mean, yeah, we're gonna try things, but we've got extension and other researchers that or private industry that really do some research that we can glean from. Uh, I just think, I mean, maybe 40 acres or 20 acres or multiple 20-acre plots. It's not a very high percentage in my operation trying something, and we don't really do that smallest stuff, but even 260-acre blocks, 2/4 sections, that's still a pretty small percentage. Is that answering the
Those
question, Seth?
you're doing each year? How many different trials or different tests are you doing each year?
Oh gosh. In terms of acres,
Or
I
in
don't
terms
know,
of number of different.
250 to 400, and some of us will take the yield, some of it'll be just a kind of a crop response, some of it will just be it could be a herbicide program or something.
Perry, what was the one, if you think back into the past, what was the one thing you did that you doubted would work, but ended up turning out to be huge? We all have that happen. Russell and I were talking about this the other day.
I mean, you want like a one-word answer that kind of transitioned the whole farm? That I'm going to say fungicides. We just, fungicides weren't recommended, but the more I looked around, a lot of yield benefits and quality, seed quality from fungicides. So started using fungicides, and that did. I can't put a number on it, but that every y'all there, I had a phone call coming in.
Yeah, we're all here.
Fungicide was a big deal. I mentioned earlier when I got on and got off real quick, using boron in almost every tank mix. That was a big deal. I knew it, but we just weren't using enough. We thought we were, making, or we thought we were using enough, but once we really started using it, because it's really inexpensive, that
Are you
helped.
using Are you using a
PGRs.
borate?
Uh,
Are you
I
using
can
a
remember going
boric
on and
acid?
on. Inoculants on soybeans, that was big. I feel like that's worth 5 bushels. That's been asked to me before. Maybe a little more depending on the situation, but at least 5 bushels. I never made over 100 bushels of soybeans. I made 97, 98. I mean, even made 99.6, but I never broke 100 till I started using inoculants. And so the first year I used inoculants, 107, I think. So
What kind of boron are you using, Perry?
just a 10% boric acid, liquid boric acid. Nothing fancy. It's
Perry, are you watching your manganese ratios?
I have in the past. I can't say that I've really been on it the last few years. I had an inverted relationship. I think it was iron and manganese.
2 to 1.
Yeah, and I was inverted. I was backwards, and the iron I had was Fe3. That was a mess. Because if you do a soil test, as long as you got plenty of iron. Well, no, you don't. It's not
Wrong form.
It's the wrong form. So
Have you So there's a product out there that has it doesn't have EDTA or EDDTA. It's a acid based compound. It really helps with that early season iron.
So it's chelated, I guess, with something else. Is it a
Yeah,
chain?
well, they're not
Chelation chain, or what is it?
they're not chelating it. They're putting in an acid that keeps it from becoming bound by the soil. It's the acid. So
Like a
EDTA will
citric acid?
no, it's much stronger than that. I mean, it's got a pH of like 2.3, 2.4.
Yeah.
And when it comes to iron availability, that is one of the better ones.
So it's an iron product with chelated with this acid.
Yep, and then it helps break down what we've got and getting everything moved over to Fe2 for plant uptake and availability.
Yeah. Okay, that's what I was asking. I didn't know if it was just a standalone acid that made the conversion, or it had the Fe2 in it as well. Chelated Fe2. I
Yep.
got you.
No, you can dive into them pretty deep, can't you?
Yeah, I've forgotten about everything I've learned. It takes these phone calls and these shows to really get me thinking again. But I enjoy it.
I love it. That's what we're here for.
Yeah.
Making everybody think. And we did so, I think, pretty well today. Russell, I appreciate you opening up your playbook in this episode, season 3. Really.
It'll be a new year and a new notebook, Seth.
You got a new one for this year? The other one full?
Yeah, that one's done for, buddy.
So does that mean we can't sneak and take pictures of your playbook while we're?
Man, you ain't got to sneak and take pictures. Seth done put it all over TV.
By the way, I got to ask Seth one question before we go.
Yes, okay. He will lose your honey bun in a tractor.
I'll never live it down.
In the background, we could see in the drone video, we could see Seth's vehicle in the background. Did you get stuck? Because it was covered with mud.
You're talking about the rice video.
Yeah, that's coming up in episode 4.
That was a disaster. That was a disaster. I was about to lose my cool on that one.
Hey, I think Seth lost his cool too, Perry.
Yeah, no, I was. Yeah. You should have been there. You should have seen that deal in color. Like the song Jamie Johnson, you should have seen this deal in color.
Hey, after that trip, he came here, and
did
my
get
dad,
the mud off his truck,
and my dad nicknamed him DK for Drift King.
Yeah, that's funny.
Yeah, that was a combo effort though on drifting out of the field. I can't take all the credit. Perry had to rescue there at one point. I thought for sure we were going to drop into the rice field.
So it rained just for about 5 minutes, but that mud it got slick. It got real slick. So he had slick tires on that Cadillac, and it was a sight to behold coming out of that farm.
I have a request for season 3.
Okay.
We need a dash cam in Seth's vehicle.
Ooh.
Yeah, we would catch some things
that we can pull bloopers off of and put at the end of the episode of what happened that day.
Yeah.
Well, it wouldn't be the first time we got stuck in a field. A couple years ago, we rented a Ford Expedition when we were in Alabama, and we got into a field for a tile job and got stuck real quick with a 2-wheel drive Expedition. So hopefully Perry's adventure in the rice field was the last of getting stuck, but it's definitely not the first.
Perry, did he have you on the edge of the seat or peeling the handles off the side of the truck?
So I'm trying to think how this worked. I had my truck, of course, or did I have was I on a backhoe? What was I doing, Seth?
Yeah, you were fixing some rice levees.
That's right. I had a backhoe, and my truck was down there, wasn't it?
Yeah, I think your truck. Yeah, your truck
and
was
the
down there. Sarah was
backhoe, and
driving your
then
truck.
and then of course your Escalade, and we're at the very back of that field. And it rained for about 5 minutes, and it was bad slick. So that Seth's truck would not stay on the road. It kept slipping off in the field. So he couldn't. He didn't really know how to get it out of there. And the only thing I knew to do is just mash that accelerator and just keep on going. So it didn't matter what direction it was going, sliding sideways, going in circles. We just kept going. And finally, because once you got it back on the road, you'd think, all right, I'm out of here. And then it'd slide back in the field. But we never would get stuck. We just uh, spin and sling mud everywhere. So is there a video of that vehicle with all that mud on it?
I did take a picture after the fact. I went down the street to
Okay.
the sandwich shop, and while I was waiting on my sandwich, I took a
Yeah.
photo or two.
Hey,
So yeah, that and here's the problem. That's a mile back in there. So I was gonna have to drive Seth's vehicle out, and then I was gonna have to walk back in there to get my truck, because my truck was having, it wasn't doing that great either. It was so slick, and that backhoe. So we had three things to get out of that farm, and it was gonna involve a lot of walking if we couldn't figure out a way to get them to high ground. But fortunately, with a little effort and a little acceleration, we got them all out.
Well, we learned two valuable lessons from that when Seth made it to North Carolina. One, Black's Tire Service does sell Seat tires, and two, they also sell Cadillac tires.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was the problem. We had one tire on that thing that was, I don't know, struggling.
All right. Well, yeah, we made it through it. That's all that
We
counts.
did. We made it through, and it makes for some good stories, Brandon.
Yep.
So thanks for bringing it up. I had a little PTSD there for a second.
You laugh though. People don't realize what it takes to do the show, and I think it looks great on film, but boy, it gets a little stressful, doesn't it?
Yes, it can.
It definitely can, especially when I'm in the way and things aren't going right on the farm. I mean, I try to not add to the frustration, but we're definitely there to capture quite a bit of it. That's for sure.
Yeah, always something going on. So.
Seth, have you ever had to dodge a wrench? I'm just essentially thinking of like the movie Dodgeball and Patches O'Houlihan. If you've ever been in a shop with wrenches flying, because if you can dodge a wrench, you can dodge a ball.
Yeah, I don't know. I used to play a lot of dodgeball. I think I could probably dodge a ball a lot faster than a wrench, but I haven't. I've heard a lot of stories about wrenches sticking in walls, but I haven't actually gotten to capture that. But we did have, and I want to end this this live with a shout out to our buddy Reggie. May he rest in peace. Who was our mascot for a short time for Top Crop and only attacked one camera, but we will still remember him with great fondness.
Maybe put him at the credits for the last episode.
You got any fond memories you want to share of Reggie?
Man, Reggie never attacked me. He knew who the king of the jungle was. Reggie was about 6 months old and had about 1/4 inch spurs, and he got booted over the chicken house one day. And me and Reggie was boys after that. It's just, he didn't like his reflection in cameras. He was scrappy.
That day we almost lost one that day.
Who
Camera,
fried him?
Camera.
Best I can tell, we got, man, ever since we've started doing some different farming techniques, we've been seeing a bunch of wildlife, and I got 3 hawks on the farm now that we've never had before. And I'm pretty sure from the crime scene that it looks like a hawk got Reggie, but I will say there was some hawk feathers laying around too, so he didn't go down without a fight.
That's what I like to hear. Good job, Reggie.
Yeah, I've been trying to keep an eye on them, see which one of them was flying weird.
Which one's walking with a limp?
Yeah.
Well,
I got a screaming baby in here, guys. I got to run, but I'll catch you on the next one.
I'm gone.
Thank you, Russell, for hanging out with us tonight.
Well,
All right.
gang, we're glad y'all joined us. Y'all have a great night,
All
and
right.
we'll see
Thank
y'all
you.
next week.
Perfect.
Yeah, I'm gonna give a real quick
Hey, one
shout out
last.
to
Yeah.
what's
I'm
that,
gonna be
Perry?
I'm gonna be out of country for 3 weeks. So.
Well, you travel safe, and
All right.
maybe we'll see you on the tail end
Yeah,
of
y'all can
commodity.
try me. It'll be real early in the morning, but I might could get on. Yeah, just send me a text. I'll do it if I can.
Absolutely, Perry. Thank
All
you so
right.
much for joining
Good
us
night.
tonight.
Enjoyed it. All right. Goodbye.
We want to give a quick shout out to all of our sponsors. Ag Explorer, our presented by sponsor. We want to thank them for all they do and keeping us supported and making the shows in association with BASF. Can't do it without those guys. And the fungicides. Make sure you pick that up early this year. All of our mods tonight. We got Brooks Horn. We got Dave Meggers. We've got Bryant Bass. We got Dave. We got Brad Bass. We've got Queen holding down the rooms. We've got all the folks taking care of the chat. Seth King over on the talk. I appreciate everyone. Brandon, I appreciate you hosting us tonight on Farm Life and other channels. Appreciate all you do making this happen for these watch parties. This is pretty special. It's nice to be able to hang out with you guys and present the episodes each week. So thank you, Farm Life and Brandon, for that.
Well, I appreciate it. And gang, we'll see you guys. Well, we'll be back Monday night with a show. And we'll see you guys then. In the meantime, everybody be safe out there. We're coming up on a little bit of icy weather again. We don't need to see anybody get goofy. In the meantime, y'all have a great night. On behalf of myself and Seth, we'll see you guys next week.
Cheers.